Hello, hello, and welcome. Hello, and welcome. Woo! This is the part where I hear myself. Woo! Well, there's your sound check. Good morning, good morning. Hey, Herdrax, good morning to you. I'm so glad you're here today. It's a lovely day today. Nice self-sound check. Gonzo, awesome. Glad you're here. Good to see you. Good morning, everybody, and good day if it's not morning for you, wherever you are. Excuse me. Yeah, forgot to mute my browser here. Whoops. So yeah, anyways, jumping right into it today. I realized that I had a kind of a shower thought that we forgot to put I think it's worth to put a changelog note on there for fixing the the missing plugin, letting people know. So yeah, we should do that, definitely, just jumping right into it. And then we had a really nice contribution to the issue tracker. Somebody brought some cool ideas. I didn't get a chance to look at it too closely, but excuse me, looked like there were some really cool ideas there. And so it's nice to have some movement there, because man, if you haven't played multiplayer Morrowind, you really haven't lived your life. And then I wanted to look at fixing the plugin load order, getting that put out there before we really start diving into 6.x, because I feel like that is really imminent now, especially because, and this is getting ahead a little bit, 0.49 has, Section 8, welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and thank you. Thank you for chiming in on Discord, and also thank you for filing that issue, and thank you for, bringing the discussion, multiplayer discussion to the table. It's awesome. You are right. There is no experience like it. It was great. I think back to playing it for the first time and just being blown away, and that's how I learned to program Lua. I was just writing scripts for, I think it was 0.6 release at the time. Event handlers were just brand new, and it was a very exciting time. So yeah, very, very much looking forward to that. But also, got your awesome Rickoff stuff. Nice. Someone's got to be loud about it. You're absolutely right. And I noticed you're using OpenMW CS. I mean, that's a normal thing we're doing here nowadays. And, I'm kind of on a mission to build a big mod 100% in OpenMW CS. And I think I have a pretty good handle on what we need to get there. And really the main thing stopping us is dialogue, I think. And we can talk about that later, but yeah, so OpenMW Lua, though, 0.49, extremely exciting. I sat down yesterday after the stream and kind of took my first look at some of the stuff that you can do, which quite a bit is available now. It's like I didn't really pay close attention for a couple months, and then poof, we've had some busy Lua devs here, so won't get into it too much. I wanted to do some releases for some of my mods, including a first release for the Distant Fixes one. And we can just do that later. That'd be a really quick, tag and a push. And then I'll put them on Nexus mods later on. And then there's, a continuing backlog of issues. Gonzo, I noted that some of those seem like we could actually close them out. They're things that are just old that we have solved. A note about, for example, BCOM updated. It's like updated 100 times since then. Whatever's going on with it, I'm sure is resolved. So yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. I had the, indeed, and it's a good thing, right? So yeah, I had the changelog HTML right here. And yeah, I think we should just mention that we fixed an omission, a wrongful omission of the all right, and let's get a link in here. It's a proper HTML file, so we can use the Django niceness. Detail. My favorite slugs, Gonzo says. Yes. I hear they're good with ketchup. All right, let's, we don't need to recrunch the database. We can just, wait, nope, this isn't the site we need. There we go. Oh, always. always love that. Okay, what did I do? Oh, right. We want... Oops. There we go. Oh, but... all right, nice. Good. Also good. We have a changelog. It fixed a wrongful omission of the plugin on the CFG generator for overhaul and expanded vanilla because it was not omitted otherwise. Only for the presets. So we want to be technically correct here about that. Okay. Yeah. Now let's do... Do run the tests. Have a sip of coffee. Don't mind if I do. Yeah, I just got to say, too, on the note of the Wabba, sort of the Wabba Jack happening for total overhaul, get that coffee, Section 8. Not too much, though. Not too much. On the note of the Wabba Jack, though, I'm very pleased to say that it's, like, actually, it's definitely a real thing, and there's, you know, no offense to OK High, who's apparently made many Wabba Jacks for Morrowind.exe. It's not their first rodeo. They know what they're doing because they were able to turn my mod list into a Wabba Jack in like 4 days, 5 days, correctly too, because I'm seeing people use it, and it's very exciting. It's not quite at the click one thing and get 400 mods phase, but like it's happening for real. And so yeah, you know, further to the Gonzo asked yesterday, what's support for that gonna look like, and you know, I definitely see OK High providing support on the MO2 side, you know, with the Wabba Jack side, and then they and I will coordinate on content, you know, updates. I'm already kind of cluing them in on some of the stuff we're going to have in 6.0. So yeah, it's very exciting to know that just it's going to be super easy for folks to get in on this, you know. I mean, it's like the number one question I get asked is there a zip file with everything? You know, and this is functionally equivalent. So, boom, checking that off. 30% done. All right. Well, so yeah, I actually moved this up on the list because this is pretty exciting, and I wanted to just take a quick look at this. We don't have to, like, necessarily implement anything, but yeah, Section 8, we're just going to look at some of your ideas. So, all right. Brought it up a couple weeks ago, yep, and I was definitely looking forward to getting this out here. So, no servers are actively listed. Now, this is a really good point. Thank you for calling this out, because this is something that I had wondered about doing, right? Like, should we have some kind of a category on the website for servers? You know, because right now, let's see. This is where we have sort of buried some pages now, and I'm having trouble finding them. Let's change logs, maybe. I can't even find my categories page anymore. But anyway, so that's bad. We should probably make that a little more discoverable, or even throw it down here in the soup that we have. I couldn't either. Yeah, whoops. Yikes. So we went a little... So on that note, I had the idea to declutter this page, and we certainly did it. As you noted in the issue we were just looking at, there is room for a little bit more on here. I'm going to take consideration, you know, into adding anything here very carefully. And I'm not against it, but it's going to be heavily considered because I like having it, you know, not too busy here. But there is the question then of like where, you know, it should be discoverable somewhere on here, right? Like, oh, you know, where the hell is, how do I see mods by category already, you know? So anyway, I was thinking some kind of on that note, we should have, let's just put this in the, whoopsie, don't try that at home, folks. We want, better visibility for categories tags by. We want maybe a category for servers, like, so this is where I wonder, like, what we could actually. Okay, Section 8, 100% doesn't necessarily seem like front page material, but cleanliness of the layout is nice. Yeah, so okay, cool. So we're gonna do that for that checkbox. As for the content, though, that I would want to add, so we have what we would do, I'm thinking, is we would add a server sort of as like a mod, right? And it would have a page kind of like this with usage notes or whatever. There's few enough. I'm not sure categorizing them would do a ton of good. Yeah, okay. Thank you. That's the feedback I was looking at, because it seems like doing this would be overkill a little bit. And instead, we could have, like, just, I don't know, like a... Oh, yeah, hey, I already have that page set up. So, yeah, I mean, we could actually start using this page. This is where, when I back in the day, hosted a server, had a couple handfuls of people log in now and then, because I had the chat go into the IRC, so I would see when people logged in, and very seldom people would log in, but they did. And I had the information here, though. I had the server, like, clonable via GitLab. That's bringing back memories. Having unique pages could be helpful, though. One page with all of them, and each has a description. Yeah, okay. Right, okay. I think it would be worth doing, like, a category for servers. And even if there's just, like, one or two, it doesn't matter, because I've got categories on here that have, like, one or two things, randomizer category, for example, or camera category is, it's not the busiest, just a few here. So, yeah, no big deal having a category for just a few things, and ideally there would be more, We raise visibility of the project. And also, I just want to note that you can see in the changelog for OpenMW 0.49, if you just look in the git log, you can see Lua bits being added that are clearly for multiplayer, including detecting nearby players. You don't detect nearby players in single player. Yeah, Open Nevermind. Yeah, okay, so actually, thank you. Gonzo says, I did it, haha, I didn't realize Open Nevermind had its own page on the OpenMW site. Yeah, big thanks to Peter McKee, first off, for having this idea. It was his idea. And also, with his approval, I actually set up a GitLab website for Open Nevermind, just like my other ones. And because up until this point, when I made this, it only existed on as like a subfolder of one of his Git repos, so this gives it a little more visibility. And then eventually I'm going to talk to him about putting it on the Nexus actually too, to kind of flesh it out. So I've heard a ton about this NC and all, but not monitored the APS for. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's, I haven't, gotten too far into it, but it's very promising. So yeah, anyway, I mean, I would really like to, I think we can do two things. I think first off, before we start adding pages and stuff, what we'll do is I'll put a comment on here probably after the stream and just kind of like have some ideas about what exactly we're going to do. But I'm thinking a general, revival of, the, wherever I put it, the server page, just a general revival of that. And then we can explore adding the servers category and sort of what content goes there. Cause that's what I'm wondering. Like, okay, I'm certainly not against, having a page like this for servers. A lot of these information boxes do kind of apply, but then, we just got to make sure, like, are we going to have, like, if it exists, we can just point to it. What's the documentation on how does your average person who's never played before, how do they get the executable? How do they get set up to play? I'm not really sure what that looks like nowadays. So that's something we would probably want to refer people to instead of just plopping the servers in here, So yeah, I'll put those ideas in the issue. Let's see here. Mod detail pages for servers. Section 8 says, same as always, although some of us have started cooking up our own launchers. Nice. Okay. Wow. Do tell more about that. I'm interested in that, because what kind of features would a custom launcher have? IP and mod lists adjoining instructions pretty much unique to each. Yeah, okay. Section 8 says, if nothing else, everyone's got their own IP and mod lists, so joining instructions pretty much unique. Updates. Yeah, okay. So that's basically how I used to have my servers. I didn't broadcast them to the master server, so they weren't in the launcher. And I just had on that page we were looking at before, I had like a step-by-step instruction on how to get connected. So deliver ESP updates. Ooh, that's a very controversial feature, which is no big deal in virtually every other community, by the way, too. And I'll point to Minetest as one example. You can literally install entire games and mod lists just by clicking buttons in the launcher. It's beautiful. It's only your plugin. That's cool. No. It's the feature in general. I mean, I remember being talked about in the past, and it was sort of like, well, you could use it to share things that people don't want shared, and that's cool though. Very awesome that you have that, and it's a very handy feature because again, I found with the multiplayer stuff, fewer client-side plugins the better, because it's a complicated setup process, and fewer the better. So if you have like some content you're delivering, custom content via ESP, having auto updates is like, super nice. So yeah, I'm interested in that. Like that's something we will want to maybe document on the website for other server owners if it's something you think other people could use. Gonzo says, it's nice to hear that. Does seem like a weirdly specific thing to Morrowind, but my attitude is nothing like it was back in the 2000s. Section 8 says, we wanted to open source it, but due to controversial nature, we've avoided it. Okay, fair enough. And yeah, Gonzo, you mean with regard to the content, or I'm sorry. But yeah, going back to this, let me get this bullet fleshed out. With regard to mod updates, yep. Okay, yep. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's weird and also awesome that it's like that today, that we have like just a ton of content, and that having rapid updates would be so, nice to have delivered in a nice way, which is a problem I would like to solve someday. So let's see here. More detail pages for servers, more user information. Yeah, I think that's about it for this category. And honestly, so what's going to happen is this is going to get converted to more elaborate points in the GitLab issue, and we'll kind of go from there. So again, thank you, Section 8, getting the discussion going, sort of shining the light on this awesome project again. I just haven't had a lot of time to get into it, but with people helping out, we can at least take your knowledge and put it out there, and then hopefully someday I'll have time to get back into it again. I miss all the kind of wacky shenanigans you could do, pillow forts and all that. All right. Plugin order update to what Mlox says. So yeah, this is something I wanted to do because I think at this point Mlox has been updated quite a lot by RFuzzo, and some of my complaints about it are moot now with regard to sort of how it would give you redundant shifting changes. I see a lot less of that. So Section 8, no problem. It'll take a bit. Trying to rope the rest of the admins into this over time. Cool. I love it. Yeah. I used to have kind of a relationship with some of those people. We used to hang out in similar servers, so it would be really cool to kind of get the party started and get the visibility going, because again, OpenMW Lua is adding stuff that is clearly for multiplayer. So that day when the projects are going to, no longer be separate, or rather the day when the day when OpenMW Lua has multiplayer is approaching, because they designed the Lua with that in mind. And again, seek out other players. That's clearly a multiplayer feature, and it's in master right now. So there you go. Yes. So going back to this, so this thing is why I kind of delayed doing this. I wanted to do it yesterday, and I delayed doing it. Guess it's time to start learning the single player API. Section 8 says, yo, yes. Let me tell you something. OpenMW Lua is a fantastic API. It's it's great. What they've achieved with it is powerful. It's a lot of fun to work with. And sort of the way that they've provided various patterns, like a OOP like app pattern, works out pretty well, actually. So let's jump ahead to this point then, since you brought it up. And I just want to say, I took a look yesterday after the stream, as I mentioned before. There is a concept that I've wanted for a long time. And I don't know how you folks do your, let's talk gameplay patterns real quick here. I don't know how you folks do your, your loot handling. I don't know how that all works for you, but let's just assume that you have we all have some of the same problems. You end up with just obscene amounts of loot, piles and piles of it. You got containers filled up. Vanilla containers don't really hold a lot out of the box, actually. And so, you just end up with piles, or you, endless visits to the mud crab or whatever. So I have a house mod that I like to use just on my personal setup. I like to use the abandoned flat. And for a long time, I had a hack of the abandoned flat that I maintained privately that had the containers cheated to be super massive, just so I could stuff things in there and worry less about loot. But it was always really annoying to drag and drop everything all the time. Super tedious. And that really hit me a lot lately when I was playing on my Steam Deck, because it's just with the analog sticks, we don't have a proper controller interface yet. So I'm with the analog stick, painfully doing the mouse controls, and I'm thinking, this is terrible. And so yeah, right. No, it is a drag. It's a big drag. It was one of the things that has just kind of consistently annoyed me about the gameplay for a long time, And so I've wanted to have this mod where I could somehow maybe click a button, and all of my ingredients would be, yes, there is touch on, Section 8 says no touch on deck. There is touch screen on deck. In my opinion, it's still a little, I have to take my hand off and touch the screen. It's not, and then I got fat fingers too, so it's just very likely I will hit the wrong thing. And then I got to deal with that, so your mileage may vary. It's an option for you. I'm not even on a Nintendo Switch, I'm not I'm not a big fan of touching intermingled with holding the thing, So anyway, I've always wanted this mod where I could just click a button and it might take, for example, all of my ingredients and put it into my ingredients chest. And then I can go in there later and look at it and take what I want. Well, so it turns out, long story short, thank you for listening to my talk about it. We can do that now with OpenMW Lua. And just to give you a quick demonstration of that, you need the latest build of OpenMW 0.49. I don't know actually how long this feature has been in here, but let's real quick pin my inventory over here. We'll scroll over here so you can see my 3 ingredient pieces here. Okay. And I'm going to click this thing, my alchemy ingredients sorter. Blablamo. And then you look in here and it has put it into the closet. And so I have added this in here just for my own personal. I'm not going to, I don't think, release this for the public. This is just something I wanted for me. But just to give you a demonstration of the kind of things you can do with OpenMW Lua right now in 0.49. And the code for this, if I may just demonstrate, is, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty simple. You want to get, for example, you want to get a container in a cell. Boom. You have to just get the cell in from the kind of the world thing, iterate through it, compare it with your ID, and then boom, just blam, like that right there. And then this little bit right here is kind of the main magic where I say, okay, given a specific activator, which is the cube I clicked, given a type of object, so ingredients or armor or something, given a cell like the abandoned flat, and given a container like the thing I want to put things into, and then a string, which is the message that comes up, we check that the thing being activated is an activator. We get the right container. We look at the things in the player's inventory. In the case of things like weapons, we have to do a little bit of extra checking, right? We can load up the record for the weapon, and we can look at what kind of a weapon it is, or if the player has it equipped, right? We don't want such a thing to, rip our equipped things off. That is annoying. Trust me, it happened to me when I was testing. You don't want that. Or maybe you do. Some kind of a hard mode version of the feature. But anyway, long story short, if we have a valid container, which, C would not be true, for example, if I typoed something, got the ID wrong, whatever. And then boom, we just move the thing into the container's content here. So I like the code. I like the API. It's very elegant. Down here, then we do this thing using the activation interface, which is basically a nice way to sort of easily put a activation handler on something. And by an activation handler, I mean we want to run code when we activate the thing. So this is just something I cooked up for myself. Something I wanted, but also kind of like a proof of concept of like what you can do with OpenMW Lua right now in 0.49. So the Activator interface is part of that. Can you put activation handlers on any record type? Absolutely. So right here, if just taking a quick look at the interface, we have activation, add handler for type. And so you just give it the type that you want to, you give it the type that you want to put a handler on, you give it the handler function, and then in your handler function, that's where you say, okay, if so the handler function gets 2 arguments, object that we're operating on and a potential actor that is doing the activation, right? And so you can do something like this, where you say if the object we're activating is blah or whatever, and then you do whatever you want. So that's roughly how it works. And yeah, just a tiny, I have basically all of my containers supported here. So you got couple handfuls of things supported, and this is about 275 lines of Lua. Not bad. I've done a little bit of code generalizing, and we have actually we have this player.lua file, because what you were just looking at is a global script, and you can't control the UI from a global script. So what we do is, in lieu of being able to control the UI from a global script, we simply send an event to the actor like this. And this is the event name, which I've stuffed into some file because I use it a lot. And the event simply just does the show message thing. Your blah has been deposited. And so that's what that code looks like. So, oh no, we can't use the UI from the global context. But yeah, actually it's super easy to just send some data on over. And now, boom. Now you're technically sending a UI thing from the global context. So yeah, thank you for my TED Talk about OpenMW Lua 0.49. And for, looking at the AF Containers Lua mod. I mean, so I strongly encourage you, go out there and try and hack up your own. It's super exciting. Incredible, Section 8 says. It's super exciting. Like, I always thought that the multiplayer Lua API was neat. I made quite a few mods for it myself. I ported quite a few of Mupfizz scripts. We had the, what was our group name? We had like a hacking group led by Mupf. I love you, Mupf, if you see this. Kind of messy though, specifically UI. Do you mean how I was popping up the message box? Yeah, I'm trying to remember what our hacking name was, but the TS3 API. Yeah, well, yeah. So props to David and Conrad and everybody else. Thank you. Oh yeah, thank you, man. Props to David and Conrad and everybody else who contributed to that. What they did is amazing. And so what's cool about seeing this happen in OpenMW Lua, where, we're adding the detect players stuff, it's like, oh man, awesome. We're going to have like kind of a more fleshed out API, where we have a lessons learned from what worked and what didn't for, TES3MP. This whole design of this API, and effectively one of the main reasons why it's not compatible with MWSE Lua, is because of the need to support multiplayer. And if you look, for example, so this is the OMW scripts of this mod, and you can see right here, we're declaring up here in the corner here, we're declaring the 2 different scripts in a global and a player context. And this is something that, none of the scripting APIs, not for Morrowind or Oblivion or New Vegas or any of them, have this kind of concept of global versus player, and global is going to be key for making stuff work on a server. But also having a distinction built into the engine of what goes to the player too. Very, very exciting times. Yes. So another thing I wanted to look at is, I remember for the longest time, Section 8 says, we do lots of hacky shit to approximate that. Yeah, I mean, I remember, just taking a digression here, I don't know if you ever saw the live map. script for TES3MP. That's one of the ones I tried really hard to keep alive. Oh, I love that thing, but like it violated everything that they want to do for OpenMW Lua. Yeah, you've seen it. Yeah. I mean, OpenMW Lua, we don't have file system access. We can't write files. You can't pull in, compiled libraries. Like trying to get that going on and off. Nice. Oh man, sweet. If you do open a PR to the original repo, because I have admin access there, I should, so I could at least keep it updated. But I loved having that thing. It was so cool. Someone's been rewriting core scripts in Zig. Whoa, that's crazy. That's exciting, actually. Zig is very exciting. Zig to me is even more exciting than Go. And I like Go a lot for personal stuff. But anyway, going a little bit back on topic, and we can definitely keep talking about crazy Zig hacking. I'm super interested in that. Dwemer Lightning Rods by Melchior Dark. Let's just take a quick look at this one. No, that's not it. This one, I remember when it came out, and I'm not crazy. Somebody is going to corroborate this. When it first came out, I swear there was sort of like how we have the awkward pop out of like the Rise of House Telvanni content. I swore there was like the fully spawned lightning in the distance, like just it looked kind of morbidly awesome, but also hideous. You don't want this. But I mean, I fired it up today and it looks fine. So Section 8 says, by the way, container thing is very common in Oblivion house mods. People would love that. Okay, right on. So I'm not really familiar with how scripting works in like the later games, but of course you can assume, right, that they made improvements and added capabilities. Yeah, so like I was trying to think of a way. I'm 100% sure we can do this. But yeah, this activator code, 100% we could like generalize this, right? I was trying to have a conversation with myself in the shower today. How would we generalize this and sort of give like a user interface, right? So in game you could say like, okay, make this activator and this mod, but that would almost be really complicated. And I don't know if it would be more useful to provide something that a prospective mod author could plug into their house mod more easily, because there isn't anything specific to the abandoned flat about any of this code. All of the abandoned flat specific stuff lives in this file, IDs.lua, and it's just, your strings of activator names and all that stuff, so there's nothing specific to abandoned flat. We totally could generalize this, and I would love to do that. This copy of the code I don't think is useful to anybody else, but like the general, boom, you can eject content into containers. Yeah, I think that probably is something that we should release. So I'll think about how we can sort of decouple that from my personal crap. But yeah, where was I? Lightning rods. Okay, so this is getting a little preview of some of the updates that are coming in 6.0, because one of the mods that I want to add in 6.0 is, where is it? Here we go. Another brilliant one by Sothis. Blight Weather Pack. And I've been playing with this one on and off in my testing, and it's pretty cool. It mixes things up pretty well. But one of the cool things about it is we're going to also go with the recommendation here to also use a better blight. And we'll note down here, the weather rebalance module, which we will be using, does include the chance now to spawn thunderstorms in areas where there were not any, such as Moligmar, Ashlands. So these lightning towers won't be completely useless. In the vanilla game, they don't spawn lightning there in the Moligmar, for example. But with this mod, they would. So with 6.0, we're going to add the lightning rods. We're going to add Sotha's Blight Weather Pack. We're going to add better blight. It's going to get crazy in Vardenfell weather-wise here. So for now, though, I'm not going to add all of that into my little minimal setup here. I'm just going to fire up the lightning rods, and let's just do a quick demonstrate. Because I love this. Let's go by surround. We don't need a dev build either. Personally, by the way, I have moved to 0.49 because of this whole container thing. I can't go back now. I can't. And I've started rewriting some of my other Lua mods to support the newer APIs. Action Camera Swap has deprecated code now. Natural Character Growth and Decay Probably within a few weeks, we'll be able to support the mastery feature because of all the spell stuff that's been added. Mad props to everybody who worked on that. I mean, it's happening. Oh, okay, so yeah, hey, check this out. This is cool. So we have an error here. My containers mod, we're running 0.48 right now, and my containers mod blew up. But it didn't crash the engine. And let's go back here. This code right here, let's zoom it up really big. This code right up here, this is what you're going to want to do. And it didn't crash, right? Exactly. The engine kept loading, just the mod isn't going to work. This script crashed. Every other script, still going. And this is the code right here. And I got it from Peter McKeeve has OpenMW Lua examples repo. Anybody wanting to write a Lua mod, I highly recommend checking out his repo on GitLab. I'll put a link in the Discord channel if you need one. But I recommend checking out his repo. He's one of the authors of the API for Christ's sake. He knows his stuff. And has a fork of it as well with some really cool examples that will be a little bit less up to date, but still have some cool stuff in there. So, yeah, and so I borrowed this from him. In the current master build of 0.49, the API revision is 39, so that's kind of what I'm keying in on. But I might change that to whatever 0.49 is. But yeah, you just spit out this. Error is a Lua built in for OpenMW Lua, and in Lua error it says, this mod requires blah, 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 blah. So somebody downloads the containers mod, runs it with 0.48. It doesn't work. Oh my God, what's it say in the logs? It says, oh. I think it's a pretty good user experience. I think it's pretty good. All right. Now, back to the lightning. I'm just going to fly over here a little bit and get a drink. By the way, once we get closer to actually implementing the 6.x update, we're going to be doing some gameplay on my actual gaming rig without a potato. It's happening. So you'll note there isn't hideous lightning here, and I wonder if MD did something in the plugin in an update or something. Maybe they did the yeah, sweet indeed. It's gonna be fun. I might actually get a new video card. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. But yeah, so anyway, maybe MD did something, but there's no, you can see it here clearly. Whoops. Whoa, don't try this at home, folks. You can see pretty clearly here. We got Dwemer Ruins. No hideous lightning, but I'm telling you, it was like, I mean, it looked awesome. On one hand, it was just like all the lightning spawned there. But on the other hand, it was a bummer. Like, oh no, it doesn't work. Kind of a moment, But clearly works now, so let's do this. Gonzo says, I'm imagining it would make a sick heavy metal album cover. Dude, you just gave me an idea. Heck yeah. And also, I'm very excited to note that lightning effect we're about to see here it's a asset from OAAB data. So, I know I gave y'all homework to go out there and make a mod and use OAAB data assets. Use that lightning. Give me some lightning. OpenMW Lua 0.49 is developing magical capabilities like right now. So I want to see lightning, like Sith Lord lightning spells. I want to see it. Starwind mod. Give me it. Section 8. Make that your first mod. All right, here we go. If you haven't seen this effect, I mean, let me make it full screen here. This is awesome. And if you're wondering, does this work with Darknut's lighted Dwemer Towers? Yes, it does. Lightning channeling spells, kind of like the lightning gun from Quake. Yes! Yes. I don't know if I mentioned to you, Gonzo, but I'm just going to mention it here since it seems like the ability to do this is going to be coming up on us sooner rather than later. Now, there's an idea. Exactly, right? Ooh, we're getting some lightning here. No. Stay away, vanity camera. One of the things I want to do, though, once we're able to de-hard code combat enough to achieve this, I want to take one of the dungeons I'm making for my mod and turn it into a Quake 3 arena kind of battle arena. And so when you get in there, you actually have like a first-person shooter gameplay kind of mode, you know, and we have, boom, Quake and Morrowind kind of a thing. It's something I've wanted to do forever. Also, I want to make a lore-friendly lawnmower mod where you can, like, push a Dwemer lawnmower and, like, cut the ground cover. If you ever played No More Heroes for Nintendo Wii, there's, like, a lawn mowing minigame that's, like, horrible but also awesome. And I'm, like, inspired by that, and I want to have an OpenMW mod where you can push the lawnmower. We're going to do it. It's happening. Lawnmower and Quake weapons when? Exactly. There's a Doom mod called Lawn of the Dead. Similar idea. Yes, Gonzo. Awesome. Well, I don't know if I've been watching the chat. I haven't noticed if we got any lightning, but I'm going to keep that going there. Herdrax says, just to wrap up the previous topic, Andre's GitLab page is a treasure trove of content if wants to be more involved in the OpenMW with OpenMW and its roadmap. Woo, awesome. Kartanov is the man. Big respect for Kartanov and all the work over the years he's put into the engine. Just, you know, he is one of the gods of OpenMW. Like when we talk about like the tribunal, when we talk about, right, like the enlightened people who have touched the tools of Kagrenak, you know, Kartanov, definitely one of those guys. Thank you for sharing, Herdrax. That's awesome. I will put that link also on the Discord channel and probably in the link on the YouTube version of this stream. I don't like this morning. I couldn't get enough lightning and now it's like being really shy with us. This is really disappointing, but strongly encourage, check this out in anticipation of 6.x. You know, we're going to have lightning on the Dwemer Towers. And so one of the things I was talking about in Discord today, actually, is there is an MWSE extension to this that is actually a really genius approach to compatibility. And do you have to be inside the cell? Ooh, yeah, that's a good call out. Gonzo, maybe I'm not close enough. You're probably right. Let's load it up. And then I'll keep talking. But it's actually a genius approach to compatibility. And I applaud them for doing this. What they've done with this mod in order to make it compatible with Tamriel Rebuilt, boom, there we go. Yeah. So cool. I love this. Right? Whoa. So cool. It just has when you have the Dark Nut Lit Towers mod and then you have it nighttime, it just is like, you know. Oh, yeah, Herdrax 6.x is shaping up to make all the other versions seem like 1.0. Yes, you're right. That's exactly what I'm shooting for. But it's just like, it's not any of my doing. It's just that the community is so awesome and the OpenMW team is so awesome and everybody's just giving us more and more stuff. You know, I mean, I just can't stop. Boom, there we go again. I just can't stop. We got to keep going. So anyway, like, this is really awesome. And they have a genius approach. Just wait until modders get a hold of the new Lua stuff. Right. So, like, I'm a caveman. You know, I'm not really like I love this so much. I'm not really like a very creative mod maker. You know, I'm like dabbling in making a big quest mod. But I'm not like really, you know, I'm just this guy, you know. And it's so visually stunning. Right. But, man, when, like, the real creative people get their hands on this, like, let's see. Ashlander Architect Nexus Morrowind. Oh, my gosh, I got the caps lock on. You know, when, like, stuff like this comes out, it's just like, you know, zackhasacat, which, by the way, zackhasacat, you know, many thanks, helped me figure out the whole container situation and how to properly weigh. You'll note down here, just a quick props to what zackhasacat helped me with yesterday is there's kind of an awkward way of like figuring out if something's heavy armor. You have to like look at the GMST for what the weight is of the kind of thing, and then you have to like weigh it against some magic number, and this is just code that I basically copy pasted from zackhasacat. So mad props, thank you so much, my man. And he turns out also is the author of this. Yeah, what exactly? Like, okay, so as a slight diversion, as a programmer who does programming professionally for my day job, I feel like we need is heavy armor. You know, we need that. Like, that is the interface that modders should have. You know, like every modder who wants to know if armor is heavy armor has to re-implement this. And if you look actually at the code for Ashlander Architect, which is brilliant, there's actually a lot of like util stuff that Zach has re-implemented that I feel like all this should be in the aux packages for OpenMW Lua. You know, modders shouldn't have to re-implement the early days. I'm sorry, reading and talking at the same time. They shouldn't have to re-implement the wheel. Section 8 says, yeah, magic numbers have no business front end like this. Early days. Zach is awesome. Yeah, for sure. Early days. So I'm not hating. It is the early days. I've been personally encouraged to contribute. I made some helpers for the UI stuff that I used in natural character growth decay, and I was encouraged to contribute that. Never actually, sadly, found time to do it. So maybe this is something that they would want to have a discussion about, like a better interface. Maybe there should be like an armor interface or an armor aux function, that kind of does this, because this feels nasty that modders have to kind of reinvent this wheel, But yeah, Zach, super nice guy, very knowledgeable, and I'm very thankful that we have him, working alongside. And this thing, I was actually just trying to get set up with this before the stream because I really wanted to check it out. I encourage you to come on over to Nexus and download this. And yeah, it's like, it is what you think it is. And, it's basically like if you ever played, like, I don't know, creative mode in Minecraft, that's what this really seems like. Section 8 says he's really pushing the Lua implementation forward a lot. I can't wait to try this one. Yeah, so you look at this and you're like, wow, okay, this is really cool. And then you look at like the Lua API and then you realize, for example, that basically every object now has, every type has a create record draft method, which, as you can see here, creates a blah record without adding it to the world database. So in a nutshell, this is what makes this possible. He's able to simply ad hoc create records for stuff, and then you plop it into the game world. So, I mean, the future is now. 0.48 is an extremely exciting release because it gives us Lua, it gives us post-processing, but like this is like, wow, just to see it like level up, such a huge step in a short time. Where here, Magic is coming, full is like dominating with the combat de-hard coding. I mean, I'm struggling to think about what we can do. The future is now. Gonzo says, man, I can't get enough of that lightning. It tells an interesting visual story and makes you wonder if the Dwemer used lightning rods in their machinations. Absolutely. And it does totally fit kind of like with their ethos and what they did. And I absolutely plan to integrate the lightning effect in my mod and kind of give a story to it. And yeah, dynamic records, section 8, it's here right now. Everything practically has a, let's see, record draft. Let's just look down here. We have 14 matches here. So at least 14 types are able to be spawnable, including armors, including activators, including, basically all these types that we have here. Get busy. Yeah, it's all there. Excuse me. Oh, nice. Herjack's here with a nice call out. This toy is also one of the major game changers for 6.x. Normal maps are just pouring in. Nice. This, and I got to say, this, and I got to say also the ground cover work done by Acid Zebra. These kinds of things are incremental steps towards making the entire process better, which in turn gives us a better experience. So, I mean, just props to everybody involved. And Herjax, thank you for the link. I've actually never seen this. Acid Zebra is the man, indeed. And this is really great. Normal map. Oh, no, I have seen this. I want to say CM August probably has linked this in the server back in the day. So this is great. I feel like this deserves a mention on probably the modding, the modder's guide, Gonzo, that we've been sort of conceptualizing. Something like this for sure deserves a mention. Like let's say you're making a mod and you want to include normal maps. You want to, but you don't know how to do it. Like this will go a long way. They're using this tool for normal maps for everything in the Nexus, says Herdrax. That's awesome. Adding to the GitLab issue. Thank you, Gonzo. Thank you. You the man. And just to reiterate, normal maps for everything isn't really an exaggeration. There's like 151 packages I checked this morning on there. They're really trying to cover everything, including OAAB data, and it really 154. Wow. Thank you, Herjax. That's epic. Man, I need a drink. Excellent. Thank you for the link. This is going on the page. So yeah, anyway, though, going back to what I was saying a minute ago about the Dwemer lightning rods is they have a really, and this is if you were on Discord this morning and noticed my conversation, Ferris jumped in even with a great idea. They have a really interesting approach to supporting compatibility with TR. And we can just read it right here. MWSE version and OpenMW version included. Note that the MWSE version automatically replaces all tower in your entire game with lightning ready versions, including province mods, exterior overhauls, and everything. We can do this today in OpenMW Lua. And in fact, I don't know, I might try and do it later. I'm feeling a little crazy. Effectively, what this would do, though, is it would remove the ESP. And further to what Ferris said in Discord is I will have to look at the MWSE version to see what exactly they're doing, but we would take the records of the objects that we're replacing, so the tops of the Dwemer towers, disable them with Lua, and then in their place with the exact same, X, Y, and Z coordinates and rotation coordinates, X, Y, and Z rotation coordinates, spawn them in the place of the old ones, just like that. And it can happen at runtime. And it's similar to, somebody's going to have to remind me, the Void something. There's an OpenMW Lua mod that can replace negative lights in the same manner without an ESP, and it does it at runtime, and it's compatible with everything. And this is why, taking a step back, the Lua approach is nice. Because if we think about what I talked about yesterday with the Dwemer Lit Towers mod, and we had to basically just stop recommending it because the TR plugin is not compatible anymore. They did an update. This approach is basically update proof, I think, conceptually. Yeah, I'll note that this mod has not updated in a couple years, and TR recently had a very big update, which broke a lot of things. Not this one. And so I'm willing to bet that the Lua approach is virtually update proof. And also, as they mentioned down here, let's say I make I love the Dwemer mod, and we put 100 more Dwemer ruins in Vardenfell. This would actually, the Lua approach would cover them automatically. I wouldn't have to do anything for extra support. So we want this, and I think we can do it. And it's something I might try to do it later on. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, that's very exciting. Oh boy, we got a lot of tabs open right now. I'm losing track. Let's go back to the list, shall we? Dwemer lightning rods. Okay, so yeah, we looked at that, and yeah, I'm very, very certain that this can be done just like how MWSE has it, and it would be a pretty interesting proof of concept to do that. So we might have to do that. All right, plugin load order. This is a spicy one because there's a couple ways we can approach this. There's the, oh my god, this sucks way probably of taking the one that I have locally here. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So I have, my local load order here, which has a lot of 6.x stuff mixed in, and it might be a little spicy. And I can try to eyeball this, but honestly, very, very, very painful. Section 8. May I ask about that script you're booting with? You mean run.sh? And yes, you may ask about it. I'm very happy to talk about it. So this thing right here is a shell script that I've written that basically leverages, let me pull it up here. Wait. Tips. Man, what have I done? I've made it so hard to find pages. We cleaned it into oblivion. All right. It's on here somewhere. Portable install. Okay. So in a nutshell, the run script, which we can pull it up here, I guess. There's nothing really crazy in it. Just a bash script, a couple hundred lines. Typical of TS3 mod cleaning. Yeah. It's just a bash script with a couple of options to do some things, right? Like I have certain things that I want to enable only when we're using a dev build. And I do things like I'll run set on the file, right? Like on my Steam Deck, I want to have certain settings that I enable, so I'm just using set, and I'm spawning a config file at runtime here, and using portable mode to target that. So in a nutshell, that's what it does. This is like basically a poor man's launcher without a GUI for OpenMW, and it allows me to, as you can see here, to very quickly switch between, basically any setup just by changing the config argument. I'm using GetOps or whatever bash thingy for handling args. It's on the verge of being too complicated for a bash script. I accept that. Definitely on the verge. I wouldn't write something like this with Python, though. I've been kind of tossing around the idea of making an alternate launcher for OpenMW that is content aware. Yeah, noted the config options. It looks quite handy. I mean, so just to kind of run that down here, so I have a I have a X option here, which adds extra stuff, including I have a replacer for the death song that plays the theme song from Curb Your Enthusiasm when you die. If you're familiar with that show at all, I will just demonstrate. I'll die for you, and we can. It's like an insanely fitting death song. And I was inspired. I was inspired by seeing a Fallout 4 mod on Steam where somebody puts the Seinfeld theme when you die, and I'm like dying, thinking this is awesome. But whoa, the curb, yeah, bump, 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 yeah. So we're gonna do that right now. You know what I'm talking about. I've been doing a lot of version switching, booting in specific cells lately, and I tend to get lost in doing it all manually. Yeah, Section 8, man. I feel like this could be a more general tool, you know. And as I was saying, I wanted to write something in Go that had a command line and also a GUI interface. So I don't know, maybe that's something that we could collaborate on if you wanted to. I don't know if you like Go. Go is what I like for stuff that would be cross-platform, because compiling a Windows exe on Linux is trivial, you know. And there seems to be kind of a decent amount of libraries. So anyway, let's go get killed, shall we? You know what? Actually, hold up. We need to turn off my... So anyway, that's what it does. I just give it, you know, I can tell it what cell I want, you know, and I can tell it, you know, --dev to use a 0.49 build. If I want to quickly bounce between versions, I got a --47 flag to use 0.47, you know. It's super handy to have something like this. And I'm a guy who I like command line terminal interface stuff, you know. So yeah, it's super handy to have a bash script. I accept, though, it is on the cusp of being too complicated for a bash script. I know that. I'm fine with it. All right, let's turn off the God mode. And that should be enough. I'd love to have this. Okay, well, maybe I'll take out my specific stuff, or maybe we can, maybe we'll open an issue to talk about what a more general, not Johnny Hostile specific version of it looks like. And maybe that could be, you know, the makings of a better launcher, because taking a step back and to distract from this, what I'm doing right here, the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme, which we will experience, and I swear it's awesome. If you have never played Mine Test, which is basically an OpenMW kind of thing for Minecraft, it's an engine re-implementation of something that looks a lot like Minecraft, but it is content agnostic. People make mods for it, and mods make up games and so forth, and they have this launcher. I'm just going to show it right now. They have this launcher. Section 8 says, I know I'm distracting, but I live in my terminal. Try not to use a launcher again. Yeah, man, you know, some people, it's just, hey, if you use a launcher, if you use Mod Organizer 2, that's awesome, and I love it, and I hope it really works for you. I just, you know, I've been a Linux admin for like 15 years, and so I just live in the terminal most of the time. And I do a lot of text editing. I love plain text, Emacs. So anyway, you see this Mine Test launcher here, and it has this content tab. And we can browse online content. And this gives us a list of games, a list of mods, 351 pages of mods right from the launcher. You want to install it? You click the plus button. I don't even know what that was. It's not going to work because they have compatibility issues with their API. That's what we're looking at here. This default not found API compatibility problem. So not every community is perfect. But I digress. They can click plus and they can add the mod. Look, it's installed. And now if I want to use it, I just go back to my main menu and I can create a game and add it, you know? And I feel like taking a step back, I'm like, we can have this for OpenMW. There's no reason we can't have it for OpenMW. And that's why I publish all of my mods primarily to GitLab. That's why I have my GitLab file access pattern, you know, and that's why I am trying to kind of centralize around that, because maybe in the future, if we have a launcher like that, it's going to depend on, yes, very powerful stuff. I mean, it makes Mine Test usable. Without that, nobody's going to use it. You know what I'm saying? It's too complicated. Even with all that stuff, you kind of have to know the distinction of a game versus a mod, you know, and it confuses people coming from Minecraft. I was confused at first, you know. But just taking a step back, you know, like this Wabajack is a testament, you know, to like how excited people can get when they know they don't have to go through a bunch of bullshit. The launcher has been making some great strides. In my opinion, there's not too many steps away from MO2-like experience, says Section 8. I agree, frankly. I 100% agree, and that's why I have made, you know, this page here. Where is it? Managing nodes. That's why I made this page, and that's why at the very top I've got this section on using OpenMW Launcher, because I feel like this is the tool you really want to use, you know? Like, it is missing some quality of life things. I feel like it should have OpenMW validator-like features, right, where it'll tell you if something's overwritten or this, that, or the other thing. You have a bunk file configured or something. It should tell you that. I feel like we should have the ability to download content in a pluggable way. It doesn't have to be aware of specific content, right? Like maybe you could plug in my GitLab URL and get packages that way or something. I haven't spec'd it out fully, but it's doable for sure. And the existence of Minetest is proof, you know. We just have to want to do it. Unfortunately, the OpenMW team doesn't share my opinion on this, but, you know, no reason I can't just do it anyways if I want to. And then show them a nice thing and how much everybody loves it. Would be really great someday. So yeah, I agree. OpenMW launcher, excellent. Wrapper script, we can definitely talk more about that, because that is something, you know, that is useful for a few people, but in particular if you're a developer, it could be extremely, extremely powerful. But now back to the Curb Your Enthusiasm. We need total overhaul for this, actually. Expanded vanilla, maybe. And actually, so I have another capital X, which also sticks in the music from Skyrim and Oblivion, which you can actually just take from the game data for those games and plop them into a folder and plug it in, and they just work because OpenMW uses FFmpeg, which can read all kinds of stuff. It's a media Swiss Army knife, and so those things just work. You don't have to convert them, actually, I don't think. So anyway, let's do this. Let's go into the cave, not God mode, and die. And then we can feel like Larry David all together now. Cutscenes 2. Yeah. Absolutely. Says Section 8. Cutscenes 2. Actually, was working on some interesting concepts with Lua and cameras to give like in-game cutscene camera floating around. Like he had some concept where it was like the door entry camera, where like when you walk into Caius's house, it would like pan around cinematically. And I personally would never want to play with that. But it's a neat idea. All right. Whoa. Bear with me on the potato here. All right. Let's go to where it's dangerous. Hi, lady. Oh, no. Hold up. Let's mute the TR. I hope you can hear my game. Let's help her out, shall we? I'm telling you, it fits. I don't know. It fits. I thought it fit. And like when I'm playing for real and I die and I'm like, and then that song starts playing and I'm like, So there you go. I'm glad you mentioned that, Section 8, because I probably never would have shared that or remembered to share that. This would go great with that one for the Hall of Justice. I don't think I know that one. Link it up. All right. I've totally lost track of what we were doing here. Reminds me of a mod someone made for the new Zelda game where it says the classic, "Excuse me, princess, when you die," says Gonzo. That's awesome. Do you mean Tears of the Kingdom, new Zelda? And I'm also going to drop my desk down. Excuse me. Nice. Tears of the Kingdom. Haven't played it yet, but I would love that. I die a lot in Breath of the Wild. So, you know, I feel like you're not playing it right if you don't die a lot. Thank you, Section 8. Let's take a look at that. Get the camera correct. All right. So hopefully I don't get copyright strikes for that. I don't know. That's, I think, like a public domain. That's like a folk song, actually, I think. Immersive Hall of Justice sound. Oh, okay. And immersive and nostalgic ambient sound. All right. All right. Humor, joke, or just for fun. That's one we're going to have to check out later, I think. Thank you for the link. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to track this and bookmark it. All right. Gonzo says, I'm trying to think of other situations where the curb theme fits, like you get Corpus from the... Yeah, spoiler alert, but when you get Corpus, don't. Yeah, that is definitely a moment, right? Like, just the tone, even if you didn't know, like, if you've never seen the show, they tend to, like, end the episode in, like, a very Schadenfreude moment where, like, the main character is just, like, experiencing complete misery, and that song cuts on, and it's just, like... It comes together so well, really it is. I'm not like a writer or anything, but I always just feel like the satisfaction of this guy's in misery, and the song illustrates it more perfectly. And yeah, you know, that just, it works in a situation like where you die or, oh, now you got Corpus. Boom, boom, boom. So yeah, that was fun. All right. Going back to the plugin load order thing. I am going to hold off on doing this right now because I think what we're going to need to do is, I mean, we have time. Let's take a look at it. What we're going to need to do is get the list of plugins from the website. What are we giving people right now? And let's say total overhaul load CFG. Let's just do this process together. I was thinking it's boring, but I don't know. Maybe it's not. And I would love to have your folks' feedback on this. Maybe there's something I'm missing here. We'll do the MLOX live. I didn't do it quite the whole thing live last time. Actually, I think we used my personal load order and not the one on the website preset. So here we go. Just copy it all in there. And so the unfortunate thing is about MLOX, for whatever reason, they are unable to do anything about OMW add-ons, OMW scripts, and it just discards these. So what I find helpful is we can sort of, I don't have a prior version of this, but what's helpful is to take what it gives you, save it, and then you compare future sortings to that to get an idea of what's changing. That's why in the past I complained about, it just changes things to change. It's not deterministic, meaning it doesn't give you the same result every time with the same inputs. Outputs differ. But it seems to be a lot better about that now, actually. The last couple results had made me feel less annoyed about just having to parse through changes that were not relevant. Section 8, I'd love to see this part. Not entirely familiar with how a large load order is managed these days. Yeah, okay, right on. Thank you. That's good feedback. We're doing it right now. So okay, first things first is we have this, which is not useful on its own, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and, total overhaul load.ini. And let's go back to my terminal here. So, I have this handy dandy Python script that I wrote. It's like less than 20 lines of Python. Just gives you the load order section that Morrowind.ini expects. Oh, nope, that's not what I'm doing. We are doing total CFG. Total INI. All right. And if you're not familiar with what's going on here, this little angle bracket here is what we call output redirection, where I take the result of that thing, which is normally this, and I put it into something else, in this case a file. In Unix, everything is a file. Moving on. And now we got this in here. Good. Next step, we do something with this. Games, wine prefixes, TES3. Oh my goodness, don't try this at home, folks. Learn to type before you do this. Game, Morrowind.ini. And you can see this is not my first rodeo. Oh my, okay. Scrolling up. Oh, there we go. When you run the game, it like erases your white space and adds these lovely carriage return characters, because why not? I put the white space in there so it's easy to find it and swap it in. I do rarely from time to time run Morrowind.exe. Very rarely. All right. And so now what we have done is we have put our load order into the Morrowind.exe configuration. This wouldn't really, I'm not really sure what it would do with like this stuff. Maybe it would just silently discard it, or maybe it would blow up at launch. I'm not going to really mess with that right now. So now what do we do? Names, line, prefix. Go ahead and you're going to need to, where is it here? So you're going to need to download the rfuzzo fork of mlocks, which I'll go ahead and pull the website for up here. Let's just add to the tab clutter. We got too many tabs. Let's just add some more. rfuzzo is forked mlocks and added a lot of nice features to it, including automatic download of Danae's rules list, which is, I think, probably the most maintained, up-to-date of load order rules you can get for Morrowind by probably some of the best sources. You know, Danae is very active and knowledgeable. So anyway, this looks suspiciously like it's running on Linux, actually. Maybe that's a Windows thing. This font here, too. Anyhow, so download this, and you can actually just run it like so. This mlocks folder here is a symlink, because I got the old mlocks, too. I had to work with that for a little bit while I fixed the bug in this one. But you just run it with Python 3. There's a couple things you're going to need, Qt dependencies, if you're running Linux, that your distribution will provide. It'll blow up in a vague way, but you'll at least have an error you can look at. So yeah, you run mlocks and you get this, which is useless. And real quick, going back here, we can see it working. Okay. Database directory, boom. Checking for base database update. No update necessary. Database updated from Danae Plays mlocks rules. Hello. So we can see it working. We have up-to-date rules, automatically updated. Big props to rfuzzo for putting that in there, because that's just another moving part that was a little tough to manage. I mean, not tough. It's just another thing you got to remember. Another thing to potentially forget or not know about. And now it's taken care of. So that's really great. And so anyway, from here, you just click File, Open. You navigate to that Morrowind.ini that we pasted the load order into, and you let it crunch for a minute. And this is what you get. And so let's open up a new file here, and we'll call it Total Overhaul mlocks out. Paste it in here. And that's it. And so the unfortunate nature of my data is that all the data for the plugins are all mixed in together. It's not list agnostic. It's not list specific, really. But we can see right here, if we zoom in a bit, this is the sorted result. And so from here, we basically compare, what we have with what they gave us. And what might be a little bit easier, what might be a little bit easier is if we do this. Let's stage this, okay? We'll save it. And let's do a little bit of, let's close mlocks. We're done with it now. At this point, you would play the game if you're using vanilla Morrowind because it has properly updated your INI file and you're good to go. At this point, if you're playing OpenMW, you would have to the best Git client. You know it. My fellow Emacs users know what I'm talking about. I'd barely use command line Git. This is it right here, my friends. Just, but we got a couple more steps to do. You have to convert it back from this to something that's usable for OpenMW. So let's just, what does that look like? Well, if you're using Windows, I don't know, and I'm sorry for you. But we have some neat tools that we can work with here on the Unix. So let's say ooh, okay. How about this? All right, not bad. Still not perfect though. Oh wait, no, that is the full plugin name. Nice. I think this actually Unix flexing. Yeah, I mean, this is how we get shit done, Herdrax. Thank you for noticing. This is how we get shit done. Text is the simplest interface, you know, and I'm not trying to be elitist or anything at all. Just text is the simplest interface. Juggling text, that's really what we do. And in Unix, everything is a file, but also everything is like a stream of bits. And so, yeah, let's see here. I think this is how we say, no. Matching a blank line. I'm blanking on matching a blank line. Or maybe we can... There we go. That works. Are you expecting empty lines, though? Well, that's a good call out. What is coming up empty? So first off, yeah, we're losing quite a bit. Over 100 things. What are we losing? So just taking a look. Okay, yeah. So first off, I'm giving awk the -f thing here, which is where we tell it to split, and not all of them have a star here. Spaces we cannot split on because many plugins have spaces in the name, and it breaks that. This is where we're getting into advanced awkery, and we might have to pause this diversion. Herdrax asks, did you notice any major changes compared to our latest stable mlox TO load order? Yes. Good question. The main thing being that the previous thing that we wondered about is Beautiful Cities of Morrowind is now pushed way down to the bottom of the load order practically. And that's where it goes. And there's no issues. It's right. And so we're gonna propagate that change out to users. I might have to go ahead and do this off stream afterwards, because we're gonna need to make sure. I mean, hey, let's just do this right now. Yeah, cool. So good question, Herdrax, though. That's the biggest change, but there's also a bit of a shuffle for other quest mods. I think stuff that didn't have a rule before now does have a rule, like Caldera Priory, for example, and other things. So yeah, there is some shuffling going on. Not a lot, but the most significant thing being Beautiful Cities of Morrowind goes way down, and other things that depend on it, like this guy going way down. And thanks to my people who go out there and add mlox rules for my stuff. I really appreciate that. It's great to automate the proper usage of these things. Someday I would like mlox to, just work with OpenMW, write the file properly, read the stuff that we have. We'll get there. Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping, so to be clear, I'm hoping to get the load order update out today with 5.7. It's not going to wait for 6.x. That's going out with this point update. But let's do this. So let's do all plugins. .cfg. A long time ago, I made this endpoint, which is it's a bit of a debug page, but it's there. Anybody can access it. I don't link to it anywhere. As you may guess from the URL and the title, it is all plugins on the website, every mod, all of them. Boom, in one load order. You would never do this. Never, ever do it. And indeed, MLOX is going to complain a lot about this. And maybe this is the wrong way to approach sorting massive amounts of plugins. But basically, we just let MLOX do its thing and ignore the warnings because we're not actually going to play with this. We're just sorting a very big list. Section 8 says, this seems like the kind of thing PortMod is just perfect for. Have you ever tried it? I think it makes you define your own rules. Yeah, well, so really taking a step back, first off, I have not really dug into PortMod because I kind of have my setup here that is just, it's what I use, you know. I got my shell script. I got my portable thing going on here. PortMod is its own entire set of opinions and assumptions and things, and it's very much designed after Gentoo Linux's package manager, Portage, which is a good thing and also a less good thing depending on who you ask. Really, for everybody, it is both a good and a less good thing because Portage is like, it's a package. You have to first off understand conceptually package managers and how they work, and specifically how Portage works. And so I haven't gotten there. I haven't found the time. I haven't made the time to do it. But I do love PortMod as a project. I respect Benjamin Winger big time, and his contributions to the community are huge. And I really wish PortMod could be more accessible. And I talked about it yesterday. I think a GUI could go a long way in making it more digestible for people. You know, yeah, Section 8 says, I'm very comfortable in Nix, but it seems like a lot. Well, yeah, so part of the problem is, and this goes back to a discussion we have here a lot on the stream, it's really hard to sort of like put yourself, I'm Mr. I know a lot about PortMod. It's really hard to put yourself in the I'm Mr. I know nothing about PortMod shoes, right? If you already know all about it, it's hard to think about what people who don't know, you know? And so it's this problem of how do you provide something for them for people to use? You know, how do we give people who don't know about Linux and Gentoo Linux, or how do we give them a fighting chance to use it? And it goes down to documentation, it goes down to coverage, and it's just, yeah, you know, it's hard, it's really hard to do. And something as complicated as PortMod just has to be done thoughtfully. So hats off to Pope Rigby, who's working on the GUI for that, and I really want to make time to, you know, give that a look and give them some feedback because it's an important stage of growth for that project, big time. All right, we're pausing the awkery for now. And with awk is something that I've used since the beginning of my dabbling in Linux, going back to 2008. I use it all the time, practically every day, but I still have to like look up some things, right? Like I don't have every way of using awk contained in my brain. So if you don't know how to do things with awk, don't feel bad. Herdrak says, on the topic of mod lists, quickly recapping on what we were talking about yesterday, I don't know about you devoting time to a strictly graphics mod list. Turns out even BCUM Ninjas, a couple new quests in, Thieves Guild, a couple, yeah, at this point, I really think that the best mods that overhaul graphics do end up, and layout, do end up touching on actual game content in some way or another. Agreed. Good call out, Herdrex. You're 100% right. And that's my feelings exactly, right? Like, what you lose by trying to exclude Beautiful Cities of Morrowind just because it has like a couple quests is way more than what you would gain by trying to maintain purity of not touching quests, you know? And I really think, thank you. That's really good feedback. And that's basically what I was thinking too. It's a neat idea, like academically speaking, it would be neat to see what that looks like, but I question the utility of it because like if you're overhauling graphics, you want Beautiful Cities of Morrowind. It's in the name of the mod. It's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? I think Arfuzzo wanted to put an organizer into his mod manager. I think there's a reason they made man. Yeah, well, I definitely try to document things as much as I can, you know, for all my projects. I made a wine wrapper called Wem, shameless plug, and it has a man page built into it. It has a tutorial built into it, you know, and if I was if I was going back to what I talked about making a launcher, if I was making my perfect software, I would try to like self-document it as much as I can. I mean, at the end of the day, not supposed to remember everything, right? You can't. Nobody does. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and cite Peter Norvig. This is one of the most important things you could read if you're interested in learning how to code, first off. And I remember reading this, like 13 or so years ago and thinking like, oh man, I don't know Jack. And I'm never going to, everybody else around me is so much smarter. It's called imposter syndrome. And the long and short of this, and I encourage you to read it. Look it up. Peter Norvig, Teach Yourself, Programming in 10 Years. But the long and short of this is, it's going to take you a long time to get good. And even when you've been doing it for a long time, and even when you know something, I've been doing this for almost 15 years, and I know something now. I don't know Jack, but I know something. But I don't know everything. I have to like look things up all the time, and yeah, that's what we have man pages for. That's what documentation is supposed to be for. Your brain cannot become a card catalog of everything. So yeah, that's a great call out. And yeah, again, great call out for Herdrex. I think for the science, it would be cool to see what that looks like, but I also think like one-day modernization is effectively that. Also, I was thinking about adding BCOM to one-day modernization because BCOM is effectively a 20-minute modernization in and of itself. So I digress. All right. No. That's not what I wanted. All I and I. There we go. Oh, sheesh. I typoed. I'm such a goof. There we go. That's the one. So, going back to the task at hand here, this is an unholy thing that you should basically never do if you're a reasonable person. But we're loading every plugin into the website database into mlocks right now. And we're going to, we're going to try and fix the order based on the output. I'm not going to do it on the stream. Actually, we're going to spend the last half hour of the stream looking at Ashlander architecture. I just now made the executive decision that we're going to do that because that seems like more fun than this. But before we merge 5.7, we're going to have this fixed load order out there for you folks. So yeah, there we go. Let's continue on, and then we can get a little bit of Ashland architecture fun. Anybody tried that one yet, by the way? Let me know. Huzzah, indeed. Haha. Let's get our text file open. I have to think of a better way, by the way, to keep track of this. Right now, I don't keep these files with a repo. I don't know. Maybe it would be handy to do that. I don't know. Anyway. Takes a minute to parse that one. Yeah, so you can see here, like, it's very mad about a couple of things we've done that are very naughty. Excuse me. Using redundant files, mixing things. Yeah, so this is actually a change that we're going to have in 6.x. In fact, container ownership conflicts with BCOM. Ownership overhaul is getting added. There's Section 8 says there's a lot of its functionality implemented across disparate scripts for TES3MP. I've been playing around with the idea of doing an AA-like thing for TES3MP. Interesting. Yeah, I've seen, I seem to recall, so to be clear, AA, we're talking about the Ashland architecture mod, which we're going to jump into here in a minute. I seem to recall seeing something like that, and I seem to recall seeing an MW script-powered version that was for OpenMW, but I can't, Dave's Furniture or Humphrey's Builder or something like that. I think I have it on the website even. I never tried it. The idea has been around for a while, though. Certainly. Okay. Can't right-click in there, but we got... Let's just make sure we... All right. Let's make sure we have a reasonably similar count. All plugins, INI. Wow, yeah, it chewed up quite a lot there. Let's do this. This is going to be really... No, we're not even going to do that. That's pointless to do because every line will be different. Excuse me. All right. And just so I'm trying to think of a way to like keep this output useful, you know. I'm going to file an issue for this on GitLab, but yeah, we need a way to like maintain the history. Now that MLOX is quite a bit better at being a little more deterministic about its output, not randomly changing things just because it doesn't know. Or maybe the rules are getting tighter too. The community seems to be really good about that. But in any case, I think we should track this with the code of the website. I just have to think about how we're implementing that. So anyway, if you look here, though, we can see just a little preview of what the change is. You can see, yeah, a lot of stuff here is stuffed to the very bottom. We shuffled all this BCOM compatibility plugins down, and BCOM itself is one of the last things. There's a couple dozen OMW scripts and OMW add-ons, which end up at the bottom here. You know, you can see a lot of these. You know, NWA's guide is going to stay. This actually doesn't have a specific load, really, requirement. But yeah, like NCGD, that doesn't either, really. These are all going to stay towards the bottom. But yeah, well, let's take a look at this Ashlander architecture, shall we? I am very excited to see what we can do with it. Let's load it in there. And comment out some of this other stuff that I have. Herdrak says, before you dive into Ashlander Architect, I was wondering if you could touch on the topic of nightly builds a bit. Okay, sure. Absolutely. That's a really great question. Anything specific, or do you want me to just kind of rattle away? Let me know while I'm commenting these out. Just some general ideas for less experienced users at the pros and cons in using nightly builds. Awesome. Thank you. Great question. So, nightly builds. That's a really, really, really good question. As a programmer, as somebody who does software development, for me, it's just a second nature thing. You know, what they are and what they do. Dev builds. I think we like calling them dev builds just because they're technically, like, nightly is ambiguous, right? Like, my friends in Australia are experiencing night right now, I think, or even my friends in Greece are having evening. It's getting to be evening there. But it's daytime for me, right? So it's just like being overly pedantic. It's not really a nightly build. It's just a dev build. So when we look at release builds versus dev builds, the release build is something, I mean, let's take a look at OpenMW 0.48, for example. It's a really great example. Julian here kindly posted in 2022 907, OpenMW 0.48 is in the release phase. Nightly, section 8 says, nightly sort of implies once a day, but even that isn't close these days. They move quite fast. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, exactly. And that's why nightly is like we have many commits a day sometimes. So OpenMW 0.48 has been in RC phase for some time. Gonzo says, phew, that's a long RC phase. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new content in 0.48. You see, I've been involved with OpenMW closely since around 0.46. And that was, at the time, the biggest update the project saw. I did the release video. Capo and I basically wrote the whole thing with a lot of feedback from everybody else. And it was a lovely process, and I have fond memories of it. But then 0.47 rolled around, and I linked up with Atahualpa, and we did the video for that one together. And that was even bigger. And at the time was the biggest release the project saw. And now we have 0.48, which is absolutely enormous. We implement the Lua API with quite a huge amount of features. We add post-processing API, which hooks into Lua even. We have reverse Z. We have zoomable maps. We have the nav mesh DB caching. I mean, just so much stuff. Every release keeps getting bigger and bigger. And 0.49 shaping up to be even bigger. You know, the release videos potentially can become documentaries at this. I was joking with Atahualpa last time we talked about it. These are not commentaries, they're documentaries. We're doing a documentary about all the changes. Like, look at the changelog, it's huge. So I digress, though. 0.48 is the up-and-coming release. It's in release candidate phase. Release candidate, if you don't know, means this is what we want to, this is the build that is going to be the next release. Use it. If you don't find any problems, it's the release. Now, obviously, it's been some time since this was posted, and problems indeed have been found. And I applaud the team for not jumping the gun, pushing the release out. We want to make sure that it works. If people are having problems in the RC phase, you better believe the masses, when the gates are opened, are going to have issues too. And if you're curious about the status of the RC, I strongly encourage you to check out this blog post, and there's a link to the forum topic about it. And we got 26 pages of action going on here. The latest Windows build, I think, is actually here on page 25, if you're looking to get RC11. I think it's page 24, actually. Yeah, here we go. No, RC10. Anyways, check it out. But my point is, the features and the code that's in 0.48 is effectively frozen. And it's being examined very closely. And the problems are being found, and the problems are being fixed. No new changes are being added. If you don't know, if you don't work in software, a general rule of thumb, and there are very few of these that apply, in my opinion, to anything, but a general rule of thumb for software is when you make changes, you're also introducing unintended changes or bugs. And so the whole idea of doing a release is you stop making changes, you fix bugs with the changes you did make. And so the reason why you would want to have the RC build of 0.48 instead of a nightly of 0.49 is because it's a bit more solid. There's less happening. There's less going on, less changes to the insides of the engine, more polish. But, then you're missing out on the new hotness. You cannot play Ashlander Architect on 0.48. You need the sauce that's in 0.49. So it's a balance, Thankfully, going back to, you mentioned Andrei Kartanov earlier. I mean, he's the man. He recently added a feature to 0.49. I'm sorry, he backported a feature from 0.49 into 0.48 where it will load saves from 0.49. So you could go back and forth even if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend that, but you could apparently do it. So yeah, in a nutshell, you have to balance stability of the program versus availability of new features. And it's definitely a delicate balance. When I'm playing a playthrough, I might pick one build and stick to it, because in the past I've kind of rode fast and loose and had done nightly builds very frequently. And then it's like, okay, let's go play OpenMW. Oh no, something's broken and I can't play now, And it's totally possible to keep multiple versions around and go back and stuff. But yeah, you kind of, when I'm doing a serious playthrough, I might use a nightly build, but I might stick just to one version and only update if I really want a specific feature. So great question, Herdrex, because that's another thing that is obvious to us programmer types, not so obvious to just users, like, well, what is the nightly build? I don't understand. And it's something that we need to make sure we communicate to people. All right, I think we're good to go here. Herdrax says, so in theory, it can break something that was working when you're using a dev build, right? That's absolutely correct. In software development in general, when you're making changes, you sometimes break things. It goes back to talking about BCOM yesterday and the note about the TR breakage and stuff. Random Pal is the man and does great work. And even so, just things can happen and mistakes are made. Section 8 says, I've always played stable, but it's really cool that we're in a place people are regularly deciding between stable and dev RC as an average user. Yeah, well, we are. Because there's just so much cool stuff available, right? There is a compelling reason to try out the dev build, you see, so let's go back to the mission at hand here. Zach has a cat and also a very big brain, apparently. Herdrax, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And thanks. Herdrax says, thanks so much for the clarification, my friend. It's my pleasure. Thank you for asking. I am very happy. That's a great question. And it goes back to what I just said. It's hard for me to realize that people who don't know what dev builds are don't know and what to say. So yeah, I hope that explanation cleared things up for you and helped you understand and kind of the world we live in here in open source, where things are kind of always being built on, you know, and we have a lot of insight into that. All right. How do we use this? To load the mod, very latest, GitLab, enter the build mode with the mod active. Press the B key or hold the back button of your controller. I love that because I'm going to try this on the Steam Deck. Always helpful to hear you guys talk shop. Awesome. Fist bump. I'm glad you're here, man. Okay. Shall we jump right in? Let's make a mess in Saran. Let's barricade the House of Earthly Delights. Oh, right. Okay, I have to file a bug about this. This is a bug that's in zero. So I'm so glad you asked about that, Herdrex, because this is a bug I found right before the stream, and this is a really fun one. Somebody did something recently to change how config files are parsed, and this, if you didn't know what we have right here, this Octothorpe here, this is you put this in there and you get a comment. That's why my text editor, you know, puts it in gray. But there's a new bug whereby if there's a space in between the comment and the thing, it still tries to read it. And that's why we had this problem here. Abandoned flat ESP is clearly a... Oh, no, wait. I'm a dingus. But this is a bug that we're going to see it again right now. Check this out. It's going to try to load this, but if I erase this space, it will not. Somebody did something recently to the way we read the config file to cause this, I think. Yeah, Wemer lightning rods. That's a me goofing thing again. Or maybe this is another case where I invented a bug like I did yesterday with whoops. It's another action camera swap phantom bug. I swear I had it earlier. I swear I hit that bug. All right. All right, I need my cheats. Hold on. All right, good. Although I don't think I need a 1000 speed. And I don't think I need no clipping. Let's try it again. Software. I know. I love it. I hate it. I hate software. I love it. All right. So I'm actually stuck in the rock. One of these days, I'm going to get the Todd Howard face emoji for my chat. And I'll also have the chat overlay put on the video, too, so we can see the Todd Howard. And it's going to be all Todd all the time. All right. So, per the instructions, let's hit the B button. There we go. Wow. All right. Remove grid reference object. Is that a... Okay, that's a C. Let's just press that. Okay, I don't know what it did. Apparently something. Pick up targeted object. So I can just pick up anything? No. Bear with me here. I'm trying to figure out what to do. Pick up targeted object. Do I gotta hold X maybe? I can't move. Do I hit B again? Let's see if there's an options. I have to target it first. You mean like this? So what I'm trying to do is point at that rock, but maybe I have to place something. I don't know. Let's try to read the manual here. Allow grabbing any object. Any object. Yes. Controller bindings, no. There we go. I can move. Awkwardly. Just not in first person. CX. Nothing. Not having any luck. Nobody's used this one before? We got to get Zach on here. All right, let's go back to the mod page, shall we? Scroll will rotate. Those only apply to the stuff you plop down. So yeah, there is the option I turned on to be able to touch anything, but okay, now I can actually hit things. Maybe I... G... No, smack it. Okay, let's try it. I can't pull out my weapon. There we go. Try selecting in the console first. Yeah, that's a good thought. Good idea, Herdrex. It's like eating my inputs. I'm trying to move back right now. I'm trying to punch. I can't even do that. We didn't do anything to the console, but there is a console API in 0.49 now. You can interact with the console. It's very possible that this mod does that. I'm kind of at a loss here, folks, which is a little bit of a bummer. Let's go back to the mod page. And the comments on YouTube. Ability to rebind all keys. Yeah, actually, Zach was talking about having a key binding widget for the settings. There is no official widget for that. I'm using something Erm wrote that's unofficial and apparently janky, but it works fine for my purpose. How fresh is my build? Maybe it caught fire. My build is pretty fresh. 2-3 days. Actually, I think I built it last night. Let's see here. Oh, something's definitely blowing up. There you go. I full screened, so I lost the log. But here we go, folks. It's blowing up. I was going to look at, see what commit version I'm. Yeah, big fire. Oh, yeah. Oof, big oof. On key press failed. Set stance, nil value. So, yeah, there probably was some API change. Maybe I can use an older build. I nuked all my dev builds somewhat recently, though. But let's see. What commit am I using? Oh, no. I'm a dummy. We're not even using 0.49. Big fire right here. Ah, and this. Yes. This, and that's why we didn't see the bug that I claimed existed. It does. See, check it out. Yes. Ah, I should have known there was a problem. So look. Somebody changed something with how we load Lua mods, because it says content file doesn't exist. You can see clearly here it's commented. But wait, when I do this, it will pass. So that's a bug. I got to file a bug about that. That's no good. That's a little annoying, actually. All right, take two, shall we? Thank you for bearing with me there. Welcome to my I'm an Idiot TED Talk. Yeah, all right. Now, let's keep that log there. Boom. Oh, my goodness. This. Okay, we need a bigger screen. Wow, I don't even... Wow, so I'm using the arrow keys right now. And I can still move with WASD. I never thought I would get this far. Let's do a building. Enter. No? Left click, maybe? Right click? Enter E? C? Arrow keys? Up. Arrow key up. Thank you, Section 8. Oh, me, oh my. What am I even doing here? I'm like stuck inside. Whoops. All right. Let's turn the clipping off. All right. Well, yeah, so that's my new house. Just right there. But let's stamp currently selected object. Left click. Placed it. Oh, okay. How do I... Okay. I want to move it around, though. I want to... What if I go back down? Pick up targeted object. Okay. X. Not exactly sure how to actually pick it up. X doesn't seem to be working. This can be a godsend to quickly fix simpler mesh conflicts, Herdrex. If we can actually move stuff already in game, that is. All right, Herdrex, thank you for mentioning that. And that is an excellent call out. And this goes back to what I was saying with the Lightning Rods mod and their approach to fixing compatibility for Tamriel Rebuilt. That's an excellent point you make, and it's 100% true. It is a very sexy way to do that kind of a thing. And I note that the Darknuts Dwemer Towers TR incompatibility might be less of a pain in the butt. Yeah, it automatically spawns doors too. So chances are, if you look into the to the code of this mod, that Zach has some like prefab mesh arrangements. Right? So you got the door relative to the building kind of a thing. Yeah, I just wish I could figure out how the hell to pick it up. But this is so awesome. Maybe I got to get closer to it. C. It always says it removes the reference, but I never realized how I got the reference. Surface snapping. This is amazing. Little rough. I'm having a hard time actually using it, but also, are we getting okay, so there is still some problems here. And just as a sanity check on my derpy self, ooh, yeah, wow, something is really blowing up. Just as a sanity check on my derpy self, slightly smaller fire, but just slightly because it's obviously not working. We are actually running the right version of OpenMW this time, okay? And yeah, there's something's not right. Maybe we'll start a conversation with Zach on Discord. Or maybe somebody already did on the Nexus. Let's take a look. That's a little bit of a bummer. I was hoping to make like something awesome. Let's see if we got any recent comments here. It's been a minute. The most latest comment is a couple months old. So yeah, maybe we'll start a discussion with Zach on Discord and see what's the state of this thing. But mad props. I mean, this is amazing. Maybe I can even go out of my way and try and figure out what commit exactly broke it. We have a concept in Git called bisecting where we can very easily find. So if we have like 500 commits, we can find the problematic commit by testing like 20 of them, by cutting it in half and checking this half and then checking this half and then cutting that in half. And it's a binary search pattern is what it's called. I found bugs in OpenMW a few times with that pattern, and I don't know jack. So, all right. Binary searches, you know it. Yeah, it's life. For Git bisect is the feature. And I learned about it from Scrawl, actually, years ago on IRC. Back when Scrawl was still around, hanging out on IRC, and nobody was on Discord because it didn't exist. And I found a bug, and Scrawl's like, well, you can bisect. And so I just looked that up and did it, and it's awesome. Very satisfying, right? Like you have potentially 300 changes to search for, but you can find it in 10 steps. That's a lot better than checking everything, out, and it's a time saver. And that's what developers do to save time and fix problems. So, okay, yeah, so we got this bug here. This is a bug. We got bugs with the the premier architecture mod. We got a couple bugs to submit. While we're here looking at bugs, I'm going to go ahead and show you one of the other things that's a bug with OpenMW CS that is, in my opinion, the number one blocker that would be stopping, number two maybe blocker, that would stop people from using OpenMW CS for a serious big project. I'm talking, you're making a big Quest mod with dialogue and journals and all that stuff. You're going to have an issue with this. And it's going to stop you from considering it as a serious tool. In fact, in my own mod that I'm developing, I'm actually using cs.js to do my dialogue because this issue is so breaking. And I'm going to file a bug with the team about it. But I just wanted to quickly show you here what I mean. Actually, we can do it with a new plugin. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with how dialogue works in Morrowind, the engine. It's a little weird. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around. It's not like you would think it would be. It's a little beyond the scope of what I'm going to talk about now here in the final 10-15 minutes of the show. But needless to say, and that's the dialogue inner workings. Section 8 says, Linux builds also seem to do weird things with ref indexes too. They never come out right. Really? Oh, you mean with the CS? Honestly, I saw you ask that in the channel. I was going to respond, yes, it does, because that's what I observe. No, in-game. Oh, interesting. You mean the engine in-game. Interesting. Only on Linux builds? I wouldn't really expect that. That's problematic. I would call that a bug, honestly. They will be different at runtime than what's in the plugin. That's a serious bug. If it's Linux only, something like that should not be happening on just Linux. All right, well, let's just take a quick... We need to investigate that further, and maybe we could... Priest of Illinibi tested the heck out of it. Oh, okay, right on. I love Priest of Illinibi. Awesome contributor. We need to talk about that more on Discord because that's a problem. I play exclusively on Linux. I don't mess around with Windows at all. But we're going to look at this bug right here real quick. So in Morrowind, you have... When you talk to somebody and you have the dialogue box, you have your dialogue topics on the right-hand side, and you have the results that they give you on the left-hand side. And the engine, from the OpenMW perspective, we call the things on the right-hand side, the blue text that turn black when you select them, these are topics. Familiar topics such as Edible Egg Mine and About My Family and other things accompany you that you may have seen in the game before. And the results they spit out when you click them are called topic infos. Okay? And generally speaking, you're not going to, for most topics, you're not going to have a lot of results for things. You know, most people don't say everything, right? But there are some exceptions. And the way the engine implements greetings is a little bit interesting. All greetings are under a topic called greeting. They have 1 through 6 or 7, I think, for the purposes of, for example, the NWAS guide, where it's like a quest greeting, you'll use greeting 5. And I'm not going to go into what the other ones are, but for a quest greeting, you'll use greeting 5. And you'll note here, there is 1,409 greeting 5 records in vanilla Morrowind alone. And this is where the implementation of the topic system matters a lot. Because if you're going to make a greeting and you want it to work right, but you also don't want to mess anything else up, you got to pay attention to where it goes. All right. And this is where things become problematic for OpenMW CS, and it breaks my heart. So let's go ahead and add a record. OMG, this is... Oh, wait. Hold up first. We have to... Let's add our topic. Oh, whoop. No, geez. Don't try this at home, folks. Learn to do typing right. OMG, this is great. That's our new topic. OMG, this is great. And we're going to add a new topic info record. OMG, this is great. No, I'm sorry. Forget about that. We're adding a new greeting. To demonstrate this problem, we have to add a new greeting. It's getting close to lunch and my brain is starting to not work right. Sorry. We're going to add a new greeting 5. All right. Here's our new greeting at the bottom. Let's edit it real quick and just say, OMG, this is my greeting, blah, blah. And then maybe we might, we might update some journal status too, beyond the scope of what we're doing here. But wait, what if we want Galbadir to say our greeting? The way the OpenMW dialog system works is it processes these records, not OpenMW, I'm sorry. OpenMW by proxy, but Morrowind dialog system processes dialogues from the top down. And it really only matters for Galbadir, I say. Yes, I do. It only matters really for the greetings, where you have thousands, of records. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, I mean, whatever, it's whatever. Galbadir has some records already up in here. If you've never talked to Galbadir, the first time you talk to her, she has a special step right up, I've got stuff for you kind of a greeting. And it's rather up here. But I digress. It doesn't have to be out Galbadir. It could be Rannis Athris. Let's say we want to give a Rannis Athris, I love you, Rannis greeting or something. She's up here. And unfortunately, when we add our record to the very bottom here, it's going down. It's never going to hit her. We need to add it up. No big deal, you say, right? All right, well. Let's just drag it up here, right? Oh, no. Now, if you didn't notice that, we added it up here, and everything below it is now modified. Ew. Very gross. There is absolutely no situation. First off, there's no need for this to happen. Inserting a topic info above existing topics doesn't need to modify everything below it. And there is no situation. Yeah, and it changes. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that's a great question here. We can actually see here the node IDs are these numbers here. And I believe it shuffles all that. And that's why we have a modified there. See, they all change. Wait. No, actually it's not changing these. Or maybe, it's not because it's not going back to what they were before, even if I Control Z. So I believe it is, though. That's why it thinks these are different, right? It's treating them kind of like an index. I'm not sure how cs.js does it, such that they're able to insert things in the middle and not change them all underneath. But just imagine now, we're adding a record for Galbadir all the way up here at the top. We're going to literally change 1,000 records just to give Galbadir a silly greeting. I mean, that's insane. It's a compatibility nightmare. And unfortunately, it's a problem that makes OpenMW CS unusable for dialogue. It's just a linked list. There's no reason for it to change. Section 8, are you going to fix this, dude? Are you fixing this for us? I bet you probably know more C++ than I do, so I don't know. We can talk about that off stream. Is it not just a cosmetic issue? No, it's not. Because now when I save my plugin, let's pretend first off, because we're going into many more features here that we need. So, okay, I have this, dialogue record that I wanted to add. If I want to get it up there, I now have to drag it and drop it like this. Do you see how painful this is going to be? I mean, this is unusable. cs.js has a move up 10, or I can right click here and say insert above or insert below. We need something like that here. We need to be able to moving up 10 is nice, but really we need insert above or insert below or copy above, copy below. We really need that. It seems weird they'd specifically implement code to reshuffle the IDs like that. Yes, and I think, no disrespect to whoever implemented it, I think they just didn't understand the needs of dialogue mod authors, maybe from the implement strictly the computer science-y academic implementation perspective, this seemed logical, but it's not at all what you would want. And I've had a private conversation with Evil Eye about this, and they basically confirmed, this is just implemented wrong. And I am on a mission to get this resolved. If I don't do it myself, somebody's going to do it. We're going to do it. Just chop it off and remake it after a point. Yeah. So this is a big thing, being able to insert things at a specific point, right? Because look how far down I am here, and I have to go all the way up here. It's going to take all day. Nobody's got time for that. Nobody's going to do that. we need to make it better user experience wise. So that is one thing. I think probably one of two big things that prevent somebody, say like Random Pal, for example, from using OpenMW CS as their primary tool. The number two thing is another bug with creating terrain. It apparently, when you create terrain, will create seams in between cell borders, which is a big problem too. I'm not going to demonstrate that here because I don't know how. I've never messed with terrain editing, but I digress. So this is a look at topics, topic infos, and yeah, kind of the problems we're facing with OpenMW CS right now. But we are so close to being able to use this thing to create a full mod. I can just taste it. I'm doing it right now. In fact, this is the only thing really stopping me because I'm not making terrain and exteriors. And some of the snapping features that we have in 0.49, I should state I'm exclusively on 0.49 for the CS. The reference snapping, the grid snapping are like insanely good. And the multiple object selection, like grabbing chunks of my dungeon and moving it all at once, it's extremely valuable. So, wow, I digress. Okay, we're discarding that. I digress. We are a little over time here, and I have to run to the restroom. But before I do that, we're just going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Multi-select doesn't work for terrain 2. Oh, okay, that's a bit of a bummer. I feel like we need that, you know. So anyway, I'm super glad, Section 8, that you got an interest in the CS. There is, I feel like, a myth that's been perpetuated in the community that CS is literally unusable. And maybe for a while it was really broken, but Nelson and others have just been really carrying it. You know, Vidiaquum did the grid snap. Props to Vidi. Thank you so much. Max, I forget your last name, did the reference snapping. It's amazing. Like, making level building is a snap now, you know, just putting stuff together quickly. And I don't know Jack. I'm like a complete noob, but I'm able to do it. So anyways, cool. Well, I guess let's see here. I didn't do the releases. We can, you know, before we close it up, let's do that. Okay. Let's go to my games, OpenMW mods, distant. So with my pattern for how I make mods, doing a release is basically real quick. Section 8 says, I think for 0.47, that's kind of a fair assessment. I wasn't able to open our plugin on it for a while. Yeah, agreed. And to be specific, OpenMW CS in 0.47 was still really rough. And 0.48, it's still really rough. But 0.49 is where it's happening. Okay, so how I do, I have I do what's called CI/CD professionally. I've talked about it before. And my mod release pipeline revolves around doing CI/CD stuff. So let's go ahead and git tag here. Let's put a 1.0 on it. And again, this is my thing that fixes the spoiler pop-ins. That was a little fun to do, if not a little annoying. Let's put that tag up there, push it, and let's check it out. All right. It's a pipeline. Yay, here we go. And that's a 1.0. I think this should pretty much work, but Eddie is going to test it for me, and I'll probably do a playthrough at some point this summer. And the worst thing that could be broken is the distance don't pop in at the right time. I know they pop out as expected. That's easy to test. Will the script to pop them in fire at the right time? I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure. All right, and that's a release. 100% automatic. I'm not hating on Nexus mods, but their upload process is way more of a pain than doing nothing. Check out the website. 1.0. Bam. And I will upload that to Nexus later on. I'll release this on there so folks can get a hold of it. Let's do now the next release of Total Overhaul Patches. This one is getting the 2.5. Yeah, quite a few changes in here too. 18 total changes. Let's look at this changelog real quick. Yeah, okay, 18 changes to arrive at 3 bullet points. That's how it works sometimes, though. I don't need the link for that, I think. All right, we're going to tag this one, too. 2.5. Push it up there. Oh, my. Don't try this at home. What did I do? All right, we pushed the tag. Total overhaul patches. Let's check out the pipelines here. I'm all about the pipelines, I tell you. Boom. Having the mod publish itself is a lot easier than going into the website and doing it manually.
And let's actually look at let's look at the magic here. If you work in software, you're probably looking at something like this all day. Probably hating your life because it's Jenkins. Boom. There we go. Nice. $2.5. Bam. I didn't have to do nothing. Although later on, again, I will upload them to Nexus, and that does take some effort. So, all right. Well, today was a great stream. I feel like I should check these off because talking about them achieves the goal. We looked at the fixed plugin order. We didn't really touch upon that. Section 8 says, I love seeing someone employing the heck out of Git like this for mods. Awesome stuff. I mean, yeah, I have a very specific workflow that is tailored to my tastes. And again, I work in software professionally. This kind of CI/CD stuff is what I do specifically at my day job. So it's like a weird merging of what I do professionally and what I love to do for fun. It's also awesome that, yeah, I'm into programming, but I can program. Morrowind is my favorite game. I can program my favorite game, I can exercise my professional skills here. So I think we can leave that unchecked, but I'm going to go ahead and do the traditional deployment of the beta website. Get that fired off there. I don't think we made too many changes really, but yeah, okay. There we go. 11 out of 10, 90%. We have a good, we have a really good pattern going here. I think we're close to getting under 100 issues. And yeah, we got some new faces coming in all the time, which is great. Section 8, it was great to have you here today. Thank you for getting the ball rolling on the multiplayer stuff. Hudrax Gonzo, as always, thank you for participating and being here. And I think we're going to leave it at that. And I'll see you all hopefully next weekend. Take care.